Who can speak to the property on Winnebago that's kind of up for grabs right now? Anybody?
Oh, yeah, I can.
Okay.
Hi. We met with Kathy Tobo's office about this, and it was a great impulse. I think, Kate, you're here. So Kate had a guy from ArtSpace speak at her luncheon. This is Kate Singleton from Preservation Austin. And I think through that and his presentation, some council members got the impulse to start talking about giving city land to this group that builds affordable housing for artists. And that's great. We're not going to turn any resources down, but we took the opportunity, well, while you're thinking about giving land to creative infrastructure, here's some other things that might be worthy. And actually, that did turn up through Leslie Poole's office. We're actively engaged in looking for city-owned land for an arts education and concert hall complex, which is still in the early stages, but we want to get these ideas in front of council now. So the Winnebago thing, as far as its status, I don't know, but what I think it shows is that we have elected officials willing to entertain the idea of leasing city land or granting city land for creative infrastructure, and we want to put other ideas in their heads while they're open to it. Any other questions? Who's got the mic? Peggy? Oh, that's Peggy. That's Peggy Ellithorpe, without whom I would be useless.
This question's for the Think East fuse box. I wanted to know if you had any information on timeline that y'all were hoping for when some of these spaces might be available.
Sort of. At this point, it all hinges on how quickly can we secure the land. So right now, we're trying to secure the land by the end of 2016. From there, we can start the process of identifying the tenants, developing lease agreements, finishing out the architectural program, and beginning to put together capital for construction. So our best guess is it's no less than 3 years and probably closer to 4 years before there is sort of boots moving into spaces and making things happen. Does that sound about right to you?
That sounds exactly right.
Hey everyone, Peter Helf, Austin Chamber Music Center. Who are the council people? You kind of piggybacked. I'm kind of piggybacking off your response to the first question, but who are the council people we should be talking to? Who are feeling these issues and that kind of thing?
I mean, we've gotten a lot of great engagement from Kathy Tovo's the MPT. That's what I'm calling her, the notorious MPT, Mayor Pro Tem. And Leslie Poole's office has been great. The mayor's office has been great. I think we have allies in about at least 7, maybe 8 council members. So you should talk to your council person in your district if you have ideas. I would caution you that what I've learned is that you can't just ask them to do something. You have to drive a solution towards them and enlist their support. And that's a big point to keep in mind. Like, we as a sector, we need to drive our own solutions and then get the municipality and the business community and all that behind that solution. They don't know what we need. We have to let them know. So yeah, I think we have good allies in the cities. We have a moment where the city is not just city, quote, COA, but the whole community is aware that this is a problem. So that's not as specific as you wanted, but I would encourage you to speak to your council member, but bring them an idea.
We're over here now. Hi, my name is Hannah, and as a former founder and current resident of cooperative housing, I was really excited to see some co-op housing and other resource co-op models indicated in the Austin Creative Trust in their plan. I'm a social worker too, so I don't make mad money, and it's incredibly rewarding for me to have very affordable and supportive housing. So I'm really curious to hear from y'all what you envision as far as a co-op model being applied for artists, and also what the existing co-op community and the city can do to support that.
We've done some work and research around all kinds of cooperative models for how Think East could work. It's been a part of our research in alternative financial models about how when Ron was talking about permanent affordability and not about necessarily about accruing wealth and flipping and something, it meant that we had to turn towards some of these alternative financial models. And so we've explored different kinds of cooperative models, also land banking, land trusts, ground leases, those kinds of strategies to try to get at permanent affordability. I think ultimately for us, we're super interested in cooperatives playing out on the 4.5 acre tract that we're developing, but it's going to largely be about the about the tenant mix that Ron was describing. How do we shape that in a way, and what are the needs of that particular tenant mix to get at permanent affordability? And so we have a suite of tools that we can choose from, but cooperatives are on our list, and we have a toolkit that we've developed, these sort of alternative financial models as a part of our research that we're happy to share. Yeah.
And specific to that one sheet, I think the Austin Creative Trust idea is an immediate emergency fund. But if it becomes a vigorous entity, like many other cities have, then I think it could turn itself towards artist co-op housing. So that's a longer-term thing. That tool of a trust is, if it gets established and capitalized, it would be there for immediate needs first. And then, but we have seen examples of 20, 30-year-old land trusts that become property developers, and that's maybe the ultimate goal.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alberto Mejia, and I just want to commend everyone for the will and the courage and the projects that you're taking on, and the tremendous thought you put behind the social benefits. I'm curious that clearly the benefits inside the envelope of the various sites and projects is clear, building low-income housing at various rates. I'm curious if y'all have come across or thought of yourselves ways that I guess affordability can be stabilized for residential properties surrounding your projects. I know that that's a huge charge, and I know that it's not the silver bullet. But I'm curious if how does that happen? Because sometimes these great projects are developed, yet right around it, it can sort of, I guess, have unforeseen consequences and increasing or rising affordability issues. So I hope that was clear enough.
Yeah, for sure. That is something we've been worried about, and something we've talked a lot about with the surrounding communities. I think there's sort of two things with our project in particular that are somewhat comforting. One is that the sheer volume of affordable housing that's going in at Think East in particular, over 300 units, is in a lot of ways a natural way to control rising property values. I mean, the property values don't rise as fastly around affordable housing, but that's what that neighborhood wants. The other part is that area and including Think East was recently approved as one of Austin's very first homestead preservation districts. And so the area around Think East is part of this new tool that the city is exploring. Now, the city doesn't quite know exactly yet how they're going to use this tool or what they can do, and it might require going back to the legislature to get a few things sorted out. But there has been an effort made around that part of East Austin to recognize a strategic effort to try to mitigate some of the things that you're talking about. And the Homestead Preservation District in that part of East Austin, I think, has a lot of potential to ease that concern, but there's still a bunch of questions around how that actually plays out.
And I was at a meeting with a foundation, I can't remember what they're called, Foundation Communities? Yeah. At Leslie Poole's office on Thursday, specifically to talk about how these creative infrastructure projects can partner with affordable housing building entities like them, for exactly what you said. But it's about, we got to build more relationships. And I think the idea is if any of these projects become more real, we would loop in those affordable housing entities. I mean, certainly that's something you want to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you built it into the master plan part where you really bring in those partners, and Foundations Communities is an amazing partner. I mean, they're doing really quality, affordable housing in the city already.
I would just say it's an awesome question, and thank you for asking it. And I think it's really essential that we keep working on that particular question. Otherwise, in a way, it's like, what are we doing all this work for? So I think we have to keep whittling away at it and trying to address it as well as we can. In our case, we were, I think, really aware of the fact that we didn't want to be knocking structures down. This was an industrial brownfield. We're actually adding housing inventory to it. And we also wanted to make sure that before we even got involved, we talked to neighborhood leaders to see if this was something that they even wanted, which they emphatically said they did. So there's that just sort of basic sort of courtesy that's going on. But I think it is a real question that you're asking, and I think it's at the heart of it, and we have to keep working at it. And thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, and the work at it is really, I mean, it's more than just us figuring out how to develop artist spaces. It's about arts organizations and artists being involved in these processes that are happening that are maybe, 1 degree removed from helping us build our theater or our gallery, but it's about attending the meetings around what is a Homestead Preservation District going to be and look like and do, and going to those meetings and being part of neighborhood association meetings, even if your project is not on the agenda that night. I mean, that's the kind of work that I think that we need to keep doing and keep training ourselves as a sector and as a field to be more active in the areas that are just outside of what might be our immediate purview. Yeah.
That's so important, man. Thanks for mentioning it. I mean, we have to be at the table on things that maybe don't seem intuitively our realm, like transportation. So, yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
This question is for Think East, but it could apply to other speakers as well. Seems like the demand for resources, physical resources for anyone in the arts community in town is so high that whenever you talk about developing resources, there's always a question of criteria for who would use those resources. So I wonder whether that's something you've approached already and sort of recognized that the demand will never be filled. So how do you decide who uses those resources?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it's something that I would really love to figure out with this community. That obviously they're like you said, Think East is not going to be able to accommodate every artist in the city of Austin. It can't, and so I think through a combination of several of these projects, we can start to make a dent in that. And so I think that's really important. And I think as a beginning place, we want to first think about what are the right artists and arts organizations that can have a meaningful relationship with this neighborhood. What's going to be the most meaningful and dynamic mixture of tenants within the actual site so that they're complementary and sparking each other in a meaningful way. And then what are these other initiatives that are happening around Austin, and how can we fill gaps and holes that are not being addressed by these other projects? And then from there, I think there'll be an application, like an RFP process, an open public application process for artists and arts organizations to apply to be part of it.
Hi, everybody. Jacob Mays here. I'm just I'm a physician here in the community and just an arts advocate. Just want to say thanks to everyone for putting all this together and collaborating. The main question, I like to simplify things. I don't know, oversimplify most of the time. But I see so many great agendas and goals and visions, and then I keep having this question of funding. Who's going to fund it? How can a random community member like myself, how can I elicit funding from the city or wherever? What's the next step other than attending meetings such as these? Like, what would y'all suggest?
Thank you for opening that door. What I suggest first and foremost is that you join the Austin Creative Alliance, because we're gonna be with partners like these guys and the people here and others on the Music and Arts Commissions and the Red River Cultural District. We're going to be bringing concrete actions to council. And then we're going to be able to let you know if you're a member of our mailing list or a member of a paid member. We also have a free level for students and artists. We're going to let you know when you should send an email, when you should show up at a meeting. Because, while our elected officials are really interested in this, they also want to see that there's community support. So when it's time to actually do these concrete things, you want to be informed. And you should be on our mailing list. You should be on the Cultural Arts Division's mailing list, the Music Office's mailing list. There's a lot of mailing lists out there. But specifically with ACA, we're trying to embrace all these ideas and show the city at large a unified effort. So join us. I want all of you to join us.
I think one of the things that Smart Town presents is just an out-of-the-box thinking about funding and thinking about ways to creatively leverage existing resources that are tagged for certain people groups or people that are at risk, and recognizing that art has the power to revitalize those people groups, like through creative services, whether you're talking about literacy issues or housing, being a quality and affordable housing, or nursing home facilities or whatever. I mean, there's so many different funding sources out there that are tagged towards people to make their lives better, and art has the power to pop into that scene and bring something amazing. And so for Smart Town, really that's art, bringing art into this area where people are really in need of something life-giving, but also recognizing that we can just turn the way these funding is being spent, because it's really ridiculously being spent at this point, and that these resources can be utilized to not only pay creatives, but to pay creatives to come in and change lives and make things better for people that are living there already. So I think that Smart Town is not just an idea for that piece of property and those people. It's really, I mean, it's an idea for I would love to just say to you, just go outside the box and look around you. That's why I talked about the welfare of the city. It's like seeking the welfare of your city, looking for the need in your city, because within that need, you're likely to find pockets of resources or places that would welcome artists and arts organizations to come in and make their home there.
And I think that John's answer is probably the best one, because I think it's going to connect you with all of the different opportunities and initiatives that are going on. But certainly what Ron and Brad were talking about with funding for their specific program coming from governmental sources, potentially from private philanthropic sources, and then also possibly from private investment. And one of the things that we're very excited about is three, in our particular case, is three organizations that have been in Austin operating for more than 20 years that have a broad and deep donor base here in Austin coming together. Certainly any of those sources that are governmental sources or are going to need to be matched. And so we certainly look forward to seeing what we can do in terms of a combined capital campaign. But I think there are many entry points for people in the community when those campaigns begin. And just stay in tune to what John's up to, and Austin Creative Alliance is the place to start.
I also just want to add that I think as we're thinking about these spaces and these creative spaces, that I think all artists don't want to get into this feeling that we are siloed. And so I think that there are opportunities also to communicate and work with communities, even part of the commercial communities, and doing multi-use spaces where we can combine the arts together with housing and retail and other ideas as well, so that so art isn't just being made here, but art is a part of our community as a whole, that we can experience that together, so that we can have not-for-profit together with for-profit to enrich this city. I also wanted to just add on to your question too. You know, how will artists be involved? What will the vetting process be? And I think that it's really important that we have this be an ongoing conversation, and even when the bricks and mortars go up, that the conversation doesn't stop there. I feel like I've seen often with bricks and mortar going up that always the rhetoric going into the building of it phase and the asking for money stage is always about the community. And once the buildings go up, that community becomes very small, and it serves a smaller amount of people, and the rhetoric goes away. And I would like to see that rhetoric continue, because as we have younger artists come into play, the spaces that we're creating now need to be spaces for the future and not just for our current population. So I think that's we have to all commit to that ongoing conversation.
Hi, my name is Erica Villarreal. I'm a local realtor, and I kind of want to build upon the previous question about artists utilizing the initiatives and what ways these initiatives are being marketed to supporting service industries like myself, where I have a lot of clients who are lamenting the fact that even commercially as well as residentially, they're being pushed out of their communities and opportunities to present themselves and create a living through their, artistic outlets. So have you guys partnered with any groups, or, what are your thoughts as far as marketing this initiative? Because that's kind of why I came here, to find out more information and direct my clients to these types of resources.
I recently have reached out to members of the board of RICA to start building relationships in that direction, but we haven't really yet. I think we do need to bring that sector into the conversation because I know a lot of developers that we've talked to, and there's a lot of developers who want to get engaged in this, and there's a lot of real estate agents who do as well. But for my part, we're just starting the conversation with that sector.
Yeah, I feel like we have talked about a very public marketing phase, a very specific public marketing phase for our project down the line. Once we have, it's got to start with the land, right? Like, we're close and we could get it, that's exciting. But once we have that, once we can start the process of sort of being able to tell the community very publicly, we have this piece of land and this is what we want to do with it. We, having for-profit, creative, retail, commercial space is a part of our plan. It's an important financial piece of the puzzle. And so it is an element, not just on the 4.5 acres that we're looking at, but in this whole larger district, and helping to drive investment that way. But I think we're close, and that's something we're talking about, but we're a big step away before we can get to that point, but happy to start seeding conversations now.
Hello. Thanks, everyone, for very inspiring and optimistic presentations. My name is Alyssa Taylor-Went. I'm an artist here in Austin. And this might be more of an issue for the public hearing tomorrow night, which is at the Marquesa. But I just wanted to make a comment about the summit points, which is that I don't want to be retroactive, and I know this is all very future forward thinking, but I think something that's also very important to put into place is something to protect the artists that are already here, and artists who have spaces. Myself included, people all around me are losing their spaces rapidly. And these are all, I'm excited about all these ideas, but we're talking about years ahead, and there are people losing their spaces like today, tomorrow, next week. And so is there, I'm wondering if there's been any talk to put things in place. I guess this isn't really a question, but just something to protect the artists that are here, to protect the studio communities that have been around for a long time, Pump Projects, and there's Thornton Road and tons of places like that. I just think it's important. And also, if there's been any talk with the city about putting sort of impediments towards developers. We're all talking about solutions to this sort of impending problem of gentrification and overdevelopment, but I'm wondering if there's I'm just sort of putting this out there, anything we can do, like higher taxes for, condo development, and Preservation Austin is involved in buildings. I know you guys have done great things with protecting buildings, and, if there's anything that we can do to sort of slow down this speed with that we're sort of trying to fight against. I don't know if that's a question or just a comment.
John missed the question, probably.
No, he didn't.
But I would say refer to the toolkit. I think the toolkit has a lot of things like the rebate, and I don't know how soon those are on the wheels.
We don't know either.
Yeah.
I think
Did you hear the question?
Not really, but if you talk, to address the rebate, we actually have a council member willing to take that forward now. But Kate can answer that question. This is Kate from Preservation Austin.
Well, it's hard to do some of what you're talking about because we are in a property rights state, and everyone in this room needs to remember that. And so some of the tools that we used to have, like back in the 80s, where you can slap a moratorium on a piece of property so they wouldn't tear it down and stuff, we still have that, but it's a little bit harder to do, and you have to do more public hearings and things like that. I think in the long run, you really have to have the plan, and you have to identify players in the development world who are willing to work with you, like these gentlemen have at Think East and some of the other people up there on the stage. And then you have to make it a priority for City Council. And that's reaching out, and this is Preservation Austin, we do this a lot. We're not always successful, but we have had some successes recently, and that's one of the reasons why we've partnered with you all, is that we know that in numbers that we can affect change. And so I think it's extremely important for you all to learn how to talk with your council members, who they are, number one, and how to talk to them and how to reach out to them. And whoever set it up at the podium, I guess it was John, you do have to talk to them about the solution. You guys have to come up with the solutions. And actually, Preservation Austin, that's one of the things we're involved in. It's not just about the buildings, it's about the cultural heritage of this community. And that means the arts community. Anne Graham is here, and she's one of our board members. So we do include the arts. So I think it's really important that we all work together on this. Unfortunately, trying to get a developer to stop a development or to say that they're going to put arts in it, I think the best way is to go through the city to get ordinances that are such on pieces of property so we can do that. Yes, and I think something to think about is how do you, if there's an incentive, then the developer is going to look to the incentive because they're looking for anything that will give them a little bit of money in their pockets. So do they put a percentage of low to moderate income housing in and they get a break from the city? Do they get expedited permit review? Those types of things. What are the small things that we think we can get the city council to go along with? And I think that's why John's list is so important about the different incentives, because once you do that, then we stand a better chance with the developers, and they're the ones with the big dollars. Although remember, they always use somebody else's dollars. They never use their own, and they are probably the most risk-averse people in the world. I used to work with them for historic preservation projects, so you know I know that. So, but we're facing the same problem in East Austin, working with some of the neighborhoods, and they want to all do moratoriums because the houses are being torn down so quickly that they're losing the very fabric of their neighborhoods and of their lives. And it's extremely distressing, not only to them, but to us and to the community as a whole. So we're trying to figure out some other tools to use. So, thank you.
Hey, folks, we have to wrap it up.
We have like 3 more questions.
Okay.
But
well, heads up, we got 3 more.
Quick. Okay. Quick and concise.
These are all amazing long-term projects, but were there any short-term solutions discussed in the summit?
Some of the toolkit stuff, like creative enterprise zoning ideas, is short-term. The creative trust, if it can actually be funded by what most land trusts that have worked in the cultural space, they get their money from the business community. The Pittsburgh Cultural Trust, for example, just basically went around and asked the largest companies in its region to pitch in. And if we can capitalize that, even $2 or $3 million in the short term, it can be there for places like Salvage to relocate. But no, the answer is that we haven't done the preparation as a community, and the same way we haven't done transportation as a community. So we watched this growth happen and didn't take steps, and now we're caught kind of without an option.
Hello.
Hey, David.
Hi. Hi, everybody. So one thing I wanted to ask, and I felt like I had this question at every single summit, but didn't really feel like I had a time to ask it. I feel like this is a good time to ask, which is that as you all are looking at assets and tools and land and big money resources, also I think it would be a valuable process to ask other people, what resources they have that might be available to artists and creatives. You know, I've got a business that is built around creative type people. We've got an office that sits unused half of every weekday and all weekend long. So we've got lots of assets just as our little business that could be available. And so I think, you know, certainly you all are looking for tenants and you're looking for assets, but I think taking that additional time to pull other stakeholders to see what they could offer could turn up lots of resources that are little bits and pieces that can be, you know, maybe we could be at the Think East, but also we might have some spaces that could just be leveraged and turned over.
We actually, yeah, the short-term stuff. We do have a couple of tools online, one called createaustin.net that is a kind of moribund platform because we don't have marketing money, but it's a project management and sort of social platform, community platform for creatives. And then something that we brought in from New York, from Fractured Atlas, called austin.spacefinder.org, also, sadly, was not picked up and utilized by this community. So the tools are there. We just haven't really taken them and used them. Because Spacefinder, for example, you could post that you have space, and then an interested artist could go and see it and divide it by like per hour rate, location. It's a tool that's there. It's austin.spacefinder.org.
AustinVenueMenu.org.
Is that the same one?
Same deal, yeah.
Does it go to the same
Same
spot?
one, same one.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
But there's some tools in place that really the community hasn't picked up and used. Maybe now we will.
I would love to share that Imagine Art has a lot of assets to offer the artists, the visual artists, and musicians in the city, and we have space that we would love to identify additional artists that are going to come and use our space with us. Visual artists, we do not charge them to studio with us. They do not have their own walls, and we creatively share open space, but we have a 10,000 square foot building and we're using it, I would say, about 40% of the time. So we have a lot of open space, times that the building is closed or times that portions of the building are not being used. And we also have a really large room for performances, like musical performances or rehearsal. And we're looking to fill, we want a thriving place that, you know, we typically are closing our doors at 4 o'clock. We're looking to have a thriving place until midnight. And we're building an entire garden area. DWG took on this project for us, and they're creating this amazing outdoor space with a stage and a fire pit, and we're bringing in food trailers. And so we're really excited about the development that's happening in our facility, and we're eager to just open our doors and invite people to come and be with us.
Yeah, you should drop by. It's a really great vibe.
It's at 2830 Rial Street, so it's MLK Airport. Our building, our corner, sees across the tracks at the M Station Foundation Communities.
One more?
Yeah, we have one more. And I just want to say, if we didn't get to your question tonight, you can send it to info@austincreativealliance.org, and we will try to get the answer for you from our speakers, and we'll post it back out on our Facebook page sometime this week or next. And here is Ravkat.
Hey, y'all. Rick Heffett with the Rattletree School of Marimba. Wow.
Hi.
Thank you. Wow. Hi. Thank you so much. One of you actually stole my question, but so I won't ask that. But I'm really, really glad to know, because we're building out a bigger space. We're moving May 1st into a much bigger space, building out a great stage, dance floor. So we have an asset that we would like to share with the community. So I'm excited about that. And then also, I just wanted to say, end this on a hopeful note. I'm also part of the Thornton Road Studios, and we just defeated the big developers, and so we saved over 50 artists, and it's really a big thing, 10-1. So thank you. So take this opportunity, you know, if you don't know your council members, take this opportunity to thank them. And, you know, I got a call from one of them. I sent them a thank you postcard, just something in the mail, not an email. And I got a call from their staffer saying, oh yeah, you know, Councilmember Houston said, oh, you know, she'd love to come play marimba sometime, and it was just great. And go to this music summit. So they are listening. They are listening. So please thank them, call them, talk to them, and hold out some hope.
And yes.
Well,
I guess
thank
this
you.
is a perfect opportunity to mention that Austin Creative Alliance might have some office space for interested parties.
Oh, yeah.
See me after the meeting.
Hey, thanks everybody for coming.